अमो राजमणिः सदा विजयते रामं रमेशं भजे रामेणाभिहता निशाचरचमूं रामाय तस्मै नमः। रामान्नास्ति परायणं परतरं रामस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम्। रामे चित्तलयः सदा भवतु मे ओ राम मामुद्धर। ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम। We have come a long way in the study of Srimad Bhagavad Geetā, and presently we are all set to enter those two verses in this chapter 8, the two verses being 12 and 13. In these 12 and 13, Lord Sri Krishna explicitly mentions Om. Om as that ultimate truth. Om is that on which we sadhakas have to focus our attention, especially at the time of moving on, especially as we get ready to leave this body for our continued journey of the soul. Now, as we said in the last class itself, there is a paragraph in Sri Shankaracharya's commentary in which Adi Shankaracharya introduces the coming two verses. He introduces, especially to all of us, the readers, the importance, the extraordinary significance of Omkara. The paragraph relatively is a little long, not really very long, but it actually consists of several quotations from various sources, other Upanishads especially, and our own, this present work, Bhagavad Geetā. So we will quickly see what Sri Shankaracharya says before getting down to the two verses 12 and 13. He says in the paragraph preceding the verse number 12, Sayoha vai tad bhagavan manusyeshu prayanantamunkaramavithyayita कतमम वावसतेन लोकम जयतीति तस्मै सहोवाच एतद्वै सत्यकाम परंच अपरंच ब्रह्म यत् ओंकारः इति उपक्रम्य. Within Prashnopanishad there is a chapter which throws ample light on Onkara. Satyakama is in the Prashnopanishad one of the six disciples. Six disciples approach Rishi Pippalada, and six of them have six different questions, and Pippalada asks them first to stay for a year in Brahmacharya. As we have said umpteen times, Brahmacharya is orderly living where there is no excess in anything, in speech or food or various other engagements, pleasure included. First live properly. First have a balanced day-to-day living. Then you are more receptive. Then I will tell you, he says. Vasa samvatsaram, he says. Accordingly, the 6 disciples, including this Satyakama, stay in Pippalada's ashram, just organizing themselves, letting go of bad habits, letting go of any disorderly tendencies in speech or in food or in sleep or in matters related to money, pleasure, and so on. And then it is that Sri Pippalada, the great Rishi, teaches them, answers their questions. So in the fifth chapter in the Prashnopanishad, every chapter being called a Prashna. In Kenopanishad, the 4 chapters are called 4 khandas. In Brihadaranyaka there are adhyayas, but within each adhyaya, there are sections which are called brahmanas. In Prashnopanishad, the 6 chapters are called 6 prashnas. So in the Panchame Prashne, Satyakama asks a question and Pippalada begins, Sayoha vai tad bhagavan manushyeshu. When people, human beings, prayanantam, they meditate upon Om, and meditating upon Om, they go to higher and higher regions after their death. The body's death, of course. Lokam Jayati. So the question was about it. Satyakama asks Bhagavan, the first part is Satyakama's Tasmai Sahovacha, answering that about what regions, what higher levels of consciousness. When somebody dies, you may agree, you may send a condolence, and please don't write RIP, rest in peace. That will show your utter ignorance of Sanatana Dharma. In Hinduism, we don't say the soul will rest in peace. That is totally a concept of the 3 religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, because they don't believe in Punarjanma. In Hinduism, even if you write RIP, put in brackets, rise in peace, or roam in peace, roaming in different words. Hinduism has strongly maintained that the soul is constantly moving, rising when it gains punya and falling when it collects papa. So, Satyakama asks, Kim kam lokam jayati, katamam lokam jayati. So you may greet or you may send condolence with, with such words as, may your, let's say, father or grandfather, mother, grandmother passed away. May your grandmother reach higher regions of consciousness. May she attain Sadgati, not the word Gati, not Sthiti. In Sanatana Dharma's vision, you and I are constantly on the move. While the pure self is changeless, it cannot move because it is already all pervasive. The infinite cannot have movement. Where will it go? It's already everywhere. It is the finite Jivatma that has to travel, and it does travel. So, Katamam lokam jayet, tasmai sahovacha. The quotation from Prashnopanishad goes here. Pippalada says to Satyakama, well, one must meditate on Omkara. And this Omkara, Satyakama, is both Aparam and Param. It is lower as well as higher. You take a vessel to a river. If your vessel is small, you collect less water. If your vessel is big, you collect more water. The river is not the issue, but your vessel. Therefore, as Acharya Shankara will also use a word very soon in this part of the Bhashya, Manda Madhyama Buddhina. For Manda Buddhis, Om blesses them with many benefits, but all said and done, it is aparam, lower. For Madhyama, it is towards param, and Uttama, it is the param Brahma. Aparam Brahma, param Brahma, yat omkaraha iti upakramya. That is how, in the first and second mantra of the fifth chapter or fifth prashna of Prashnopanishad, Sri Pippalada begins, Yap punaretam trimatrena omiti etena eva aksharena param purusham avidyayita sa samabihi unniyate brahmalokam. So Uttamadhikar is not so good as to get Jivan Mukti, but quite good, quite advanced, quite mature to exercise their antakarana on such a high plane that they are able to recite Om, and even as they recite Om, they are able to appreciate how Om with U and actually covers the entire universe. Just as in worldly context also, suppose one of you has lived in Dubai, and many of us have never gone there. We have seen at the most some pictures. You lived, let us say, 20 years in Dubai and then have returned back to Bangalore. So someone among you who lived 30 years in Dubai and practically has gone to nook and corner, when there is a mention of Dubai, you are able to bring into your mind pretty much so many aspects of Dubai. Dubai means so much more to you. You had lived there. The mention of Dubai makes you look at whoever talks about it and maybe with a nod, you know, give him some best wish. So you're going to Dubai? Good. So any help you need, give me a call. I lived there 20 years. Just as whether it is a city or some subject or some person, anywhere, anything, if you and I have associated with it for a length of time, the very mention of that word it means a lot to us. So advanced upasakas, when they recite Om, Om, they bring to their mind without much verbalization. There's no need to verbalize too much, but one brings to one's mind the magnificence of Om. Trimatrena Om iti anen iti etena eva aksharena. It's an akshara, never it's a syllable, it's a sound. It's also a special graphic symbol, akshara. Param purusham avidyayita. Then samavihi, sama mantraihi. So, in the fifth mantra of that fifth prashna, Pippalada talks about advanced upasakas. They are not jnanis. If they are jnanis, their story is completed. The story has already culminated in this life itself. But very advanced upasakas, it is said, Brahmalokam utniyate. This upasana takes them to Brahmaloka, where they get Brahma Mukti. In due course of time, they get completely liberated. Samabihi, Sama Mantraihi. The mantras have power. And this lady or this man has for years practiced Omkara Dhyana as well as risen in her understanding of Omkara, and therefore Sama mantras swing into action. Rik mantras, Rigveda, Yajur mantras, Yajurveda, and then Sama mantras. Sama mantraihi unniyate brahmalokam. Why go to Prashna Upanishad? Many of us are quite familiar with Kathopanishad. There it is said, Nachiketa himself asks, is there something so high that even the divisions of right and wrong do not apply there? Anyatra dharma, anyatra adharma. Kathopanishad. And then it goes, we have Yama replying to Nachiketa. Sarve Vedaha yat padamamananti tapansi sarvani chayadvadanti yadichanto brahmacharyam charanti tatte padam sangrahena bravimi omityetat. In that one mantra itself, praising Om, Yama mentions Om within that mantra. Whereas Sri Krishna pretty much said the same thing in the previous verse, but reserves the explicit mention of Om to the 13th mantra. So we have 13th, or is it? In the coming mantra, he mentions explicitly Om. Yes, 12 also he praises. 13, Om Ekāksharam Brahma. So in Kathopanishad, even breaking chandas, breaking the meter, Yama seems to be in a hurry, so to say. In the mantra, he adds, Om Bravimi, Sangrahena Bravimi, the pada is over. Tatte Padam Sangrahena Bravimi. The aksharas that have to be in the fourth pada are over. Prishto. Yadichanto brahmacharyam charanti. 11 syllables. Sarve Vedayat Padamamananti. 11. Tapansi Sarvani Chayat Vadanti. 11. Yadichanto brahmacharyam charanti. 11 syllables in each quarter. Tatte Padam Sangrahena Bravimi. 11. But then he adds Bravimyo Mityetat. Mityetat. 3 syllables he adds. Why is such hurry? Just ask Yama only. But at our level, we may say, Yama was so happy with Nachiketa, he says, I don't want to make him wait more. In this utterance itself, Sangrahena Bravimyo Mityetat. Om. That is Kathopanishad. इत्यादिभिश्च वचनैः परस्य ब्रह्मणः वाचकरूपेण पमादेर प्रतिमावत् प्रतीकरूपेण वा. There again, some know that Om itself is name of Brahma. Om is Brahma. But some others say Om is a sound. Om is a mantra. Om is itself not the ultimate truth. If this way they think, as you think, so you are. In this world, there are people who have all the power, but don't know that they have that power. Therefore, they act with lot of hesitation and fear and apprehensions and looking left and right, though they have all capacity inside. Then there are some who have less capacity, but think that they have a great capacity. They go ahead. So finally, Satyameva Jayate, Those who don't have capacity, don't have the talent, don't deserve really, suppose show themselves in a certain way and show themselves certain way, they surge ahead and they can't go very far. Hopefully, as they surge ahead, they gather whatever was within them outside, they collect, then it's okay. Otherwise, if with less capacity, less deservedness, if somebody through some gift of the gab, talking well or making some gifts to people, winning over some people by some show, the show is of many kinds. Gift of the gab is not the only show. There are some people who know how to go and you know win over people by show of wealth, by show of some little bit talent, making others believe that these people know a lot. A girl of the ninth grade went up the stage and recited a certain Veda mantra. Tachayora vrani mahe gatum yajnaya and so on. She did not refer to anything. And the way she recited it, the audience was so impressed. So they thought that she must be knowing a lot of Vedas. Later they found out that was the only mantra she knew. But she learned that mantra quite well. Right? So again I gave the example of reciting, speaking, but it could be with some gifts. It could be, showing something, taking somebody around. It could be introducing somebody to some big person. Then you imagine that this person who in a short notice introduced you to the chief minister of a state, this person must be very influential. May not be. This particular chief minister might be his own uncle and or some other, close bond. Otherwise, he doesn't have much influence. Anyway, coming back, Omkara is Achaka. This is the name for those who have a greater inner eligibility. Vachakam, as it is said, Vachaka Rupena. Put a comma there in your book if you have Shankara Bhāshya. Pratimavat Pratika Rupena. Those who have less understanding, not because of any deficiency in Om, but these people have deficiency in their understanding. As we said before, the river is wide, big, huge, great depth, and wonderful, clear water. But you went with a small 500 ml capacity vessel. That's what you get. So for Mandabuddhinam, Pratimavat Pratika Rupena. Om they take, Pratima is a statue, an idol, or Pratima symbolically means a symbol. Om is a symbol, and the real divine truth is up there. Om is down here. That is their limitation. Pratimavat Pratika Rupena va. Either way, all of them are leading to the same Parabrahma. Parabrahma Pratipatti Sadhanatvena Mandamadhyama Buddhinam Vivakshitasya Omkarasya. Vivaksha means Vaktum Icha. Vivakshita Omkara is sought to be presented, sought to be said. Vivakshitasya Omkarasya Upasanam Kalantare Muktifalam. Those who go to Brahmaloka, Kalantare, in due course of time, they get liberated. That means they go beyond time. On the axis of time, they rise and erase that axis. They erase the axis of time. For the ultimate truth is beyond space and time. Kalantare muktifalam uktam yat tadeva ihapi. Why go anywhere else? In this very Bhagavad Geetā, in this very chapter, couple of verses before, Kavim Puranamanushasitaram Anoraniyam Samanusmaraidyaha Sarvasya Dhataramachintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasapparastat. Very poetically, Sri Krishna had said in the ninth verse of the eighth chapter, which we are studying presently, this eighth chapter. Also in the 11th, the one just that we just covered. We are going from 11 to 12 now. And Shankaracharya makes a mention of the 11th verse. Yadaksharam Veda Vido Vadanti. See the small change. In Kathopanishad, first chapter, second valli, 15th mantra, Sarve Veda Yat Padamamananti, that which all the Vedas hold in high regard. Sri Krishna practically gives the same mantra in the 11th verse, but the first quarter changes slightly. Instead of Sarve Vedaha Yat Padamamananti, Sri Krishna says Yadaksharam Veda Vido Vadanti. So the message is the same. इति च उपन्यस्तस्य परस्य ब्रह्मणः पूर्वोक्तरूपेण प्रतिपत्ति उपायभूतस्य ओंकारस्य कालांतर मुक्तिफलम् उपासनं योगधारणा सहितं वक्तव्यम्. This Brahma, for which Om has been described as the way, as the tool, has to be mentioned. Kalantara muktifalam vaktavyam. This also has to be said. Yoga dharana sahitam. Certain practices, certain way of sitting, certain way of breathing, certain way of concentrating. All these are required. All these, interestingly, happen in two ways. Some learn it and practice it. And some others, they rise in their maturity that these exercises happen on their own. It is so in the context of all values. Some people speak the truth because they are afraid of what will happen to them if they tell lies. Dharma bhaya, they fear the dharma, they fear the law of God. Therefore, some speak truth or they are dharma bhiru. That's a word, dharma bhiru. They are afraid. Let us not do adharma. Some enemies of a certain king of Mysore, Raja Vadayar, they caught hold of a priest and said to him, you must do something tomorrow morning. He said, what? You must mix some poison and give that tirtha. The Raja Vadayar was a very, very early king of the Vadayar. In fact, he was the founder of the Vadayar dynasty, you can say. Even today you have a Vadayar in Mysore state who is contesting the Lok Sabha election, interestingly, highly regarded by large numbers of people. So he says, no, I can never do that. What are you talking? Mixing poison in the tirtha. No. Our king, whatever, he might have done some wrong things, but we hold him in high regard. I can't do that. They say, they take out a knife. Now itself we will kill you if you do not agree. Or if you don't do, tomorrow evening we will slit your throat. He is between devil and the deep sea. And the poor priest agrees. And next morning, Raja Vadayar comes to that temple and the priest has mixed poison also. But the priest, poor fellow, he is so dharma bhiru. Even as he brings the tirtha, he wants to give it to the king, his hands are shaking. Raja Vadayar asks, what is your problem? No, I am okay. No, there's a problem. Why are your hands shaking? Why do you look so afraid? The priest says, no, last night I did not sleep well. I have a little fever, something, he says. Raja Vadayar The king says to the priest, I don't believe all that. Tell me the truth, and I will not do anything to you. Then the priest says to the king, some enemies of yours got hold of me yesterday. They will kill me if I don't do it, but I don't want to do it. And then Rajavadar handles it. In the version that Vikram Sampath gives in his book, Rajavadar, who otherwise had done a lot of wrongs also, he caused the death of a woman who jumps into Kaveri river and ends her life. Rajavadar was the cause for it. Otherwise, it is said that he was a great devotee also, maybe like Ravana. Ravana, abducted Sita, but he was a great Shiva Bhakta. Like that, Rajavadar said, oh, really? I'll take care of them. And he takes the tirtha anyhow and drinks it. And I believe nothing happens to him. That's one version. Maybe he doesn't really drink, whatever. So that priest, you see, afraid. Some people speak truth out of fear of dharma. The priest here was afraid of those evildoers, but in the context, then some others, they are so well established in higher character, they are so well established in a certain divine appreciation, speaking truth and truth only comes to them as second nature. See the difference. One feels tempted to tell a lie but says better not. Another doesn't feel tempted at all. Thus, now having mentioned Rajavadaya's story, those enemies were no other than his own cousins. So, though otherwise he was quite cruel at times, Rajavadaya is interesting. Gets them arrested and cuts their ears and pounds their nose with a hammer, gets soldiers to do it. So those two cousins who had attempted to murder Rajavadaya are without nose and without ears for the rest of their life. And I'm sure Rajavadaya ensures that there are always some people keeping an eye on them, whether they'll make a second attempt. All that need not be said, you know. So, cutting the ears and pounding the nose of those two cousins was a kind of punishment that the Vodayars of Mysore apparently gave to wrongdoers, probably especially when the wrongdoers were members of their own family, extended family. So, here we have this one. Yadaksharam Veda Vido Vadanti Parasya Brahman Yoga Dharana Sahit. I was reflecting on Yoga Dharana. That will come in the next verse. Yoga Dharana. So, you and I also can see this truth. Certain things we begin to do because someone advised us out of faith. Certain other good things, whatever they are, they just happen in you. You don't feel like doing something, some wrong thing which you did for a long time. Somehow there's an inner change and you don't do it. Not by deciding, not by writing on a piece of paper, not by doing some sankalpa. One fine morning, by Lord Rama's grace, you just get the possibility of doing something which is not right, and then just, I think, I won't do. In fact, that is a healthier change inside. When you let go of wrong ways of living and embark on right way of living very naturally, without any sangharsha, inner conflict. So we'll see what is Yoga Dharana. Yoga Dharana Vaktavya. Prasakta Anuprasaktancha Yatkinchit. Prasakta, the present context, Prasanga. Anuprasakta is whatever is in line with the present context. Prasakta Anuprasaktam. Suppose you are in a meeting and you want to say to other members of the meeting, that what are you discussing? You have gone away from the context. You can just simply say this is not prasangika. It doesn't go well with the context. Or you can use the Shankara Bhāshya word. You can say to them, Kimetat bhavantah sarve vadanti. Yad bhavantah sarve vadanti tat prasakta ananuprasaktam manye. Prasakta ananuprasaktam. That means it doesn't go with the context which is to be discussed. You haven't gone away. Irrelevant stuff you are talking. Come back to the topic. Prasakta anuprasaktam is what is relevant to the present context. That is going to be said in the next two verses. Prasakta ananuprasaktam would be irrelevant. Prasakta anuprasaktancha yat kinchit ityevamartam uttaro grantaha arabhyate. In Sanskrit, the word uttara in some context means north, uttara and dakshina. But some other context, like here, uttara means what comes later. If somebody asks you, what is the opposite? What is the antonym of uttara? You must ask that person quickly. First, tell me in what meaning you are taking uttara. If that person says uttara, north, north, then you say the antonym is dakshina. But if the person says uttara means what comes later, then the antonym is purva. Same way, dakshina also has two meanings. Dakshina means south. Dakshina Bharatiya, a South Indian is called Dakshina Bharatiya. All the five states, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Kerala, are Dakshina Bharata. Though in Delhi, almost every South Indian gets embarrassed at times. Those who are not from Tamil Nadu are also called Madrasis. You know, I went to New Delhi in 1982, started living there. Once while traveling in DTC, Delhi Transport Corporation, I overheard some Punjabi women were sitting behind. Looking at me, they somehow understood. And they were talking. Koi Madrasi baita. First, I did not like. I wanted to tell them, I am not from Madras. I am not even from Tamil Nadu. I am from Karnataka. I kept quiet. And once or twice it happened like that. But can you believe? After a few days, I began to love that expression, Madrasi, standing for all the five states. So after 6 months or so, somebody asked, "Aap kahan se ho?" I said to them, "Hum to Madrasi hain ji." I myself said, "I am a Madras." Maybe because I had lived in Chennai also and I knew some Tamil, this, that. Anyway, Dakshina, suppose somebody says is south, then the antonym is Uttara, north. But Dakshina in Sanskrit can mean right also. Right hand, Dakshina Hastaha. That context, or if that is the meaning you take, the antonym of Dakshina is Vama Hastaha. Don't say Uttara Hastaha. Dakshina Hastaha, right hand, Vama Hastaha, left hand. Right? Dakshina Disha, south, Uttara Disha, north. So with this long elaboration I did, Rama's will on this Ramanavami day, I wish all of you happy Ramanavami. In the West, it is the eve of Ramanavami. Here in India, Ramanavami has begun with a bang. We will enter the 12th verse with a bang now, with a small bang at least. Sarvadvarani sanyamya manohradi nirudhya cha murdhyadhayatmana pranam astito yogadharanam ओमित्येकाक्षरं ब्रह्म व्याहरन् मामनुस्मरन् यप्रयाति त्यजन् देहं स याति परमां गतिम्. Yoga Dharana is explained. Things like you control all your senses. Dvarani. Bhagavad Geetā chapter 5 had already mentioned Navadvare Pure Dehi. This body is like a city with 9 gates. The 2 eyes, the 2 ears, the 2 nostrils, mouth. There itself it is 7. And Brahmarandra on top of the head. And some exit point for excreta to go. So in Kathopanishad it is Ekadashadvara. Puram Ekadashadvaram Ajasya Vakrachetasaha. That's a month. Sri Krishna some places slightly edits. Not that Kathopanishad is wrong, but he edits for certain other reason. Simplifying, for example. Kathopanishad also said it, Sarve Veda Hayat Padam Amananti. He says, Sarve Veda, what is that? He said in a little, Yadaksharo Veda Vido Vadak. So, both are right. So, Sarvadvarani, mainly the sense organs and organs of action, controlling them. Mano Hradi Niruddhyacha, fix your mind in your own heart. Hradi Nirodham Kritva. Murdni Adhaya Yansandhi Murdnyadhaya Atmana Pranam. So these are all yogic words, yogic terminologies. I am not much qualified to explain them. But in the yoga, they talk about controlling pranas, not just breathing, apparently, different pranas. So the pranas are controlled in such a way, murdni, on the upper portion of the head, or murdha, forehead, fixing pranas over there. So those who are into yoga practice can make better sense of this. Astito yoga dharana. This is yoga dharana. Bhagavad Gita has maybe 20 or 30 verses through the 18 chapters, which have a strong smell of Patanjali's Yoga Shastra. We generally are more into jnana and bhakti. We don't go much into the inner hidden meanings of this, but I am sure people walking the path of Patanjali Yoga reflect on this, and these expressions mean much more to them. So, for us, in simple terms, control your breathing, control your senses, control your organs of action, not in the form of some suppression, but out of proper study, out of orderly living. What was earlier unpleasant becomes very pleasing to you. When you are not ready, not to have sweets, not to take coffee, not to sleep late, not to get up late, etc., is painful. Oh, I have to get up. Oh, I can't take coffee today. But when there are certain healthy changes in you, the same things which at one time were so bothersome become such enjoyment. To get up early is such a joy. To just drink some, not even green tea. There are some people, in fact, yesterday I received an inspiring message, though everything has to be tested and found out whether it's true. A friend of ours in Australia has been experimenting, and he nowadays does one thing. Out of 24 hours, something like 10 hours, I think. 10 hours during the waking hours. Oh, no, not doesn't have to be waking hours. Maybe 10 hours even counting from, let's say, 8 p.m. to 6 a.m., 10 hours. He takes only plain water. After 8 p.m., doesn't take even a fruit or a biscuit or or his wife might give him, have some hot milk. No, 8 p.m. to morning 6 a.m., plain water. He has not written whether it's warm water or, but it's Sada Pani. He has written in Hindi, and he claims, this middle-aged man, that by drinking Sada Pani, plain water for a good length of time, 10 to 12 hours every 24 hours, rest of the time also he has some simple rules. He says plain water, consumption of plain water, not any medicine, used to pancreas and other organs whichever are involved in sugar control, gives to them an opportunity to operate on their own without interference every time something coming in, dropping inside. Especially, he says, pancreas. He is not a medical person, but he is a very sincere sadhak. Very sincere sadhak. Has done a lot of wonderful experiments. So, he says, by drinking plain water, maybe he does it for full 12 hours, 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. perhaps, only plain water, nothing added. And then he is experimented. He takes later on a heavy breakfast with a lot of carbohydrates. In spite of it, after 2 hours, his sugar is 110 or something, normal. In spite of taking carbs, and he attributes it to the plain water therapy. Very fascinating. So, yoga, living rightly is wonderful. You and I should experiment like that, Mr. Vivek. We must experiment. So, astito yoga dharana. To quickly see just the meaning of the second verse we read, 13. Om iti eka aksharam brahma. The monosyllable, although it's made of a, u and but then finally, like an alloy, we call it a metal, single metal. So it may be an alloy with 2, 3 elements coming together. So meditating on Om, saying Om, and that is Brahma, and remembering the Supreme God, whoever leaves the body reaches the ultimate location, greatest destination, which is of course moksha. Sayati paramam gatim. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Once more, may the blessings of Lord Rama be with all of you. This Ramanavami, this eve of Ramanavami, for some of you. Hari Om.